Hello, everybody. It is February 17th, 2023. It is a Friday, and it is approximately about 28 hours away from the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and I am hyped for it. But firstly, let me introduce the people who are joining me today, and this is firstly on my right on camera. I've taken a few days off.
Right, left. You're right, my left.
Actually, Clark Taylor, how are you, Clark?
I'm here. I'm happy to be here. I have to come clean and apologize. I told a bold-faced lie yesterday by saying that I would have the day off today. Because clearly, I'm back. So I apologize. I am on the show once again. And I'm stoked to be here. Wanted to be here, needed to be here. It made the most sense. And it's Friday.
Yeah.
And it's Chamber. And it's Mania season. It doesn't get any better. I'm just stoked to be with you guys today. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. We'll be giving our Elimination Chamber predictions. And there's a lot going to be going into it. But today I'm also joined by Anthony Ricciardi once again. How are you, Anthony?
Doing all right. I'm doing good. Just an update for everybody. If anybody was concerned, Kobe did shut down the GoFundMe. We appreciate any contributions that you guys made on behalf of Ben's illness.
I had a common cold. But anyway, I'm once again back now. And yeah, let's get straight into Elimination Chamber. And the first match we're going to get into is Edge and their Phoenix will be taking on the Judgment Day's Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. And quite honestly, this might be the most obvious match in quite some time, based on the fact that Rhea Ripley won the Royal Rumble. She cannot lose. If she does lose, that's awful. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure my prediction here is going to be Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. And perhaps they're going to go towards Edge and Balor in a Hell in a Cell match at Mania, perhaps. What do you think, Clark?
I mean, I would love to see Beth and Edge win, but like you said, doesn't seem possible. It's one of those matches that's like really good on paper and not great given the context. It's kind of tough. Yeah, I think the answer is Ripley and the Judgment Day win the match, and that's about it, man. I really hope they maybe convince us in the ring that Beth and Edge have a great chance, and I don't know what the finish looks like, but I do see Ripley, of course, walking away a winner.
What about you, Anthony? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that it's like going to see a movie, but you already know the spoiler. When you're in this situation where, like you said, we know Beth's going to Mania. Tradition is, if you're going for a title, you're probably not losing on the way to that title match. So I think that's part of the problem. I think Dom's going to play a role. He's probably what's going to cost Edge and Rhea cost Edge and Beth the match. I think that's where it's going to go with this. But it's a shame. The Judgment Day is a storyline that refuses to die, despite the fact that it's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain elements of the Judgment Day storyline which I'm loving, such as mainly Dominic and Rhea stuff. It really has. I've mentioned this before, but it really has given Dominic Mysterio's career. He's gone out the shadow of his father now because of this storyline. But I mean, for the likes of Finn Balor, it's not really done anything. Let's be real here. But I've been entertained at times. At other times, it really hasn't been anything of interest.
Dom's absolutely embraced the heel character, which is kind of funny. When I wrote that piece that said that he should be a Guerrero, he pretty much is doing the Eddie stick just without the Guerrero name, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, they released a video on YouTube of him and Rhea going on a Valentine's date, and Rey Mysterio taking his table. And I'm loving the storyline. I'm loving to see where it goes. Perhaps it's WrestleMania. I presume it's WrestleMania, but we'll have to wait and see. But Soul, who's not on today, is in the comments, and he's saying, you better mention my predictions. And yeah, I do have Soul's predictions here, actually. And he predicts that Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley will win this one. But now moving on to some of the other matches. And this match I am quite interested in because, if I'm being honest, I didn't expect it to happen at the Elimination Chamber. I expected it to happen at Mania. And that is that Brock Lesnar will be facing Bobby Lashley. I was actually quite annoyed watching Raw this week. Lesnar's gone away from the Bobby Who thing. He clearly did it one week. No, it didn't catch on. It caught on social media after it. Lesnar clearly isn't on social media, so they just got abandoned. Yeah, it's back to just calling him Bobby now instead of Bobby Who. But yeah, Lesnar versus Lashley 3, I think it is now, or is it 4? I've lost count. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be Lesnar who wins this one, although perhaps the Hurt Business help Lashley get the win and they run it back at Mania. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Anthony?
I mean, that's the thing. I like you, I'm kind of surprised why they would do this at Chamber, because it does seem like they would do it at Mania. I don't know where they go with this. Like, if Brock wins, okay. Like, I'm not sure where they go with this because I don't know what the plans are for either of those guys at Mania if it's not them facing each other again.
Yeah, good point there. And Soul, whose prediction for this match is Bobby Lashley, is saying, this match is my toilet break match. Come on. Come off it.
Wow.
Lesnar, Lashley, they've been decent. I mean, I'm going to be honest here. None of them have lived up to the hype, in my opinion. But they've been solid matches. What are your thoughts there, Clark?
I mean, yes, they've been solid matches, and on paper, again, Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, are you kidding me? Like, you can't get people off the street that can match Brock Lesnar's physicality. But you have Bobby Lashley, and we haven't built this as the Clash of Titans that it is any of the times. If somehow they can get us from here to Mania, where that's the final for a reason, whatever it is, I would be really fired up because I enjoyed the matches, like you mentioned, but Brock and Lashley should be a bigger, more important deal. It was something we were clamoring for a long time. It's something we really wanted. And with both of their MMA backgrounds, with their size, with the speed, the athleticism, it's one of those things that's borderline once in a lifetime, and it's just not been treated as such. And that's the biggest shame about it to me. Do I think they can put on a great match? Absolutely. And believe me, I will not be visiting the toilet during that one. That's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this card is, and I mentioned this a couple of episodes ago, this card truly is just, it's so stacked that I'm slightly worried for Mania, because it feels like they've just completely stacked this one up, and Mania is in like 5 weeks. So we're like, well, how are you going to build all these other matches up? But I mean, I have trust in them, and if WrestleMania is indeed stacked over the 2 nights, then I will not be complaining at all. But this really could well be the most, dare I say, most stacked pay-per-view under Triple H so far. And I'm really, really looking forward to it, in all honesty. And of course, it is the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. So let's go straight into the Elimination Chamber matches. And we'll kick things off with the men's Elimination Chamber. And that is Austin Theory defending his United States Championship against Seth Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Montez Ford. Now, firstly, I just want to quickly jump into each of these people individually. I think Austin Theory, of course, he's the current champion. There's a lot of, I mean, the obvious person for him to face at Mania is John Cena for the US title, I guess. I mean, perhaps you don't even need the US title, but Theory versus Cena at Mania is what makes the most sense, especially considering it's in Hollywood. There's not going to be a Rock, so having Cena there would make a lot of sense. Seth Rollins, it seems to be, it's pretty obvious with the way he keeps referencing Logan Paul. It's going to be Rollins versus Logan Paul at Mania. Johnny Gargano, his path to WrestleMania seems unclear, but they've not really built him up enough for me to expect him to really win this. Bronson Reed, they have been building him, but I think it's a bit too early for him to put Raw's basically main championship on him at this point. Damian Priest is just a lackey in the Judgment Day at this moment in time. And Montez Ford, of course, one half of the Street Profits, who lost on Raw this week, which I found quite interesting. And Angelo Dawkins didn't look too happy when they lost. So part of me is thinking perhaps the turn there might be sooner rather than later, but I'd still be shocked if they put the title on Montez this early. So in all honesty, after going through these 6 men, to me, it only makes sense to keep it on Austin Theory. But what are your thoughts, Clark? What is your prediction for this match?
Unfortunately, I feel the exact same about Austin Theory makes the most sense. It's another match where it's really great talent on paper. I mean, Seth Rollins is the biggest name in the match for sure, but anytime you get Seth Rollins in a big time match like this, it's cool. But I'm just I'm getting Ryback Intercontinental Chamber vibes. It falls flat and it's really predictable for me as far as the storytelling aspect. And I see Theory retaining and riding his horse all the way to Mania to face Cena. But I do hope that they come up with some innovative stuff in this match, spots wise, to keep it entertaining. And I really do hope it opens the show.
Oof, yeah, that would certainly be a good opener. What about you, though, Anthony? Who is your pick for the men's Elimination Chamber match?
I actually agree with both of you guys. I think Theory is really the only logical choice in this scenario. I do think he's probably going to face Cena at Mania. I do think it's going that way. I think the other guys, other than Seth, because Seth's probably facing Logan, the other guys are probably, if they do the Andre Battle Royal, they're probably going to get shoved in there, to be honest. That's where I'm thinking they're going to end up. But one thing that you mentioned about possibly the Street Profits turn or whatever, I would not be shocked for the post-Raw Mania because they always like to do splashy stuff. I could see them doing it there if they did it.
The post-Raw Mania. It feels like every day we got a new angle for the post-Raw Mania. I mean, if we were booking the show, this would be the most stacked Raw after Mania of all time.
We've got like a 6-hour Raw the Monday after Mania.
It's always the most wild crowd for any Raw. It's always the post-Raw one.
It truly, truly is. And we've got some other news, which we might get into if we have some time later on, about what perhaps could happen Raw after Mania, but we'll get into that later on in this episode if we do have time. If not, we'll talk about it on Monday. But the next match, and we're going through this quite fast, but the next match is for the Raw Women's Championship, and it is Asuka versus... sorry, I need to correct myself here. The next match is for an opportunity at the Raw Women's Championship against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, and that is Asuka versus Liv Morgan versus Raquel Gonzalez, Nikki Cross, Natalya, and Carmella. Now, Kobe is in the commentary, and he's got a really good point here. He's saying that Jimmy, I always mess up.
Corderas,
an ex-WWE referee, has shared the opinion that he felt Bianca winning the triple threat was a missed opportunity to make the women's match differ from the men's Elimination Chamber match. And I think that is a fantastic point. I think having either Becky or Bayley in this match would have spiced it up just a little bit. But once again, I'll run through each of the competitors in this. Asuka, I mean, she's got to be favorite. Undoubtedly at this point, she's the one who makes the most sense. Liv Morgan, it's possible, but she, of course, had that title run not too long ago, and Bianca versus Liv Morgan, face versus face, would surprise me a bit. Raquel Rodriguez could happen, but they haven't booked her in that way, so I can't personally see it. Nikki Cross it's been interesting with Nikki recently. It wouldn't completely shock me if they did it, but again, I still can't particularly see it happening. Natalya, I think, is only there because it's in Canada. And then there is Carmella. And I think if there is going to be a shock, it will be this one and Carmella will win. But I still do think that there's going to be Asuka. I think Asuka's the only one out of these which would be a big match at WrestleMania. But what do you think, Anthony? Do you think they could throw a spanner in the works?
I honestly think Asuka is the front runner. Carmella would be. I think Carmella would probably be the fallback, but I don't really see any of these other women headlining Mania. Like I don't see Nikki Cross facing Bianca, and quite frankly, if she did, I can't see them having Bianca lose to her. Now, Asuka beating Bianca, I think that's probably where it may be going, especially considering, how Hunter treated her booking in NXT. She was undefeated. She was probably the most dominant women's champion in NXT for the longest time. So I think Asuka's the front runner. It's a new character. I think she's due.
What about you, Clark?
Gosh, I hate to pile on like this. In the match, is it outside of Nikki Cross? Is Piper Niven the only other heel?
She's not in the match.
She's not in the match. Okay,
Natalia's the only other heel.
Natalia would be, but she's not even really a heel in Canada. I guess Carmella's a heel. So Carmella would be my second pick after Asuka.
Yeah.
If there was a scenario where they could have set up Liv Morgan to make a turn the way that they'd shown her after the loss way back when she lost the title and whatnot, it would be really interesting to see Liv. But I just don't know how you get from here to there. So I unfortunately I'm gonna have to agree with you guys. It's Asuka is winning this match.
I mean, Liv had that run as the champ, and that was quite frankly, and I know Clark and I kind of agree with this. Kobe disagrees with us on this. I think that was a failed run. That crowd did not want her as champion. Like
after was incredible, and then they just
they got it was. Isn't the old adage, oh, if a dog chases a car, they don't know what to do if they get it? And that's kind of what I feel like Liv's title reign was. When we won her as champion, she's got it. And they're like, all right, this isn't what we thought it was going to be.
It's not as great as
next. That's what it felt like.
And it's funny because I'm a huge Liv Morgan fan. She's actually one of my favorites on the roster. I think she's been overlooked and underrated for a long time. And her improvement in the ring from where she started is, I don't know. I mean, outside of maybe Mandy last year in NXT, somebody who's made a leap from
Mandy
unsure what they're going to be, they're going to be bell to bell to like absolutely can go with anyone. And that I got to give Liv credit for. I don't know if we're also ready for Liv as a heel, but it'd be cool because I think bell to bell with Bianca, given the time at Mania, they could put on a banger. I really think they could put on a heck of a match.
Yeah, and Kobe Galanzowski's agreeing with you in the comments there, saying, Bianca would need to not Liv because fans, no way of fans turning on Liv.
I would go the opposite.
No, I would go Liv. Half the crowd hated her anyway.
Liv for sure over Bianca.
Yeah,
but Liv's one of those people, I think, where crowd would be against her when she's champion, but when she's not champion, they would not be against her.
I believe both are remarkable talents, but I believe Liv could work a heel gimmick, and I'm not saying Bianca couldn't. I'm just saying the way that Becky Lynch, when she worked Big Time Bex, it would be a similar thing there. A lot of the crowd wants to cheer Bianca Belair. She's there's so few unlikable things about Belair. And I'm not saying that's the case. Liv Morgan is extremely likable as well. But I think there's an easier route for Liv Morgan to work a heel gimmick than there is for Bianca.
I mean, we saw Bianca
the Mandy route too. Mandy was the heel. I mean, I definitely think Liv could pull that type of heel type character off, I think.
But we're saying this about Bianca. Bianca's pulled off the heel gimmick in NXT, and she was very, very good at it in the early days because she was a full blown heel. It then turned into a face gimmick. But Kobe's made this point here that Bianca needs to be a heel, become a heel, and freshen up her character. And it is true because she's been a really good face. She has been a really good face, but we're forgetting the fact that she was also a really good heel at first, a real cocky heel. And we're seeing there's a lot of stuff at her which are very likable, which is 100% true. But also, the one thing you can lean into is she is very good at pretty much everything. And that is an element which it's very easy for them people to dislike. So if she leans into that and like she could be going, you're thinking you're as good as me, whatever. Like, I don't know. It's something, but there's not much time to do it.
I also think go ahead, Anthony. Regionally speaking, being from Tennessee and in such huge wrestling cities that WWE works so often, her backstory is so over too. I think she'd have a hard time being a heel almost anywhere in the Southern United States because given her life story and her backstory and all of that, I don't see that as something that makes a lot of sense. Similar to where we've seen tweeners in other places, I don't think it's possible to book her as a heel on that loop. It's just not, because it's like it's a natural fan base of not just her character, but her herself, you know.
Yeah, and I think this leads to the question kind of about, so far we've gotten through 4 or 5 matches, right? And we've all agreed apart from the women's match, we pretty much agreed on all of the matches. And it gets to the point of, is this card slightly too predictable?
Possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one potential problem with a Bianca heel turn. Because she's so tied to Montez Ford, and we've just talked about Dawkins may turn on him, are you really going to have him as a face and her as a heel? I think you'd have to turn them both heel to make it work. And I just don't think it's the logical choice.
Great point.
In either scenario.
Great
I think
point.
Dawkins would be the better heel. I think Montez is too athletic, too popular to really turn heel right now, honestly. And I wouldn't turn Bianca now. I don't think that's the right move.
Certainly you can't. Montez is like the perfect babyface. No way can he be heel. But yeah, I mean, at the same time though, if this continues with Bianca and they keep pushing her as a face and the crowd starts to get tired of her, which a portion of the fans already are now, week by week, you can hear less people are into her, you then risk a Becky and Rollins situation like what happened before, where they turn on both of them. So perhaps having her turn now and then having Montez be on the face run and just not link the two, perhaps that actually could stop that from happening, to play devil's advocate here.
You never know. I mean, yeah, I just, with Bianca specifically, I just think it's really, really difficult given the run she's had here. And the geography thing is a killer because of she's just so over in all of the in places they visit often. That's the thing, right? Not just a loop that they go on the tour, right? It's not like used to be Bret Hart like on the Canada loop, right? He could be a heel in the whole United States, and then like whatever the 5 shows that they worked in Canada, he was a face essentially, right? It's not that simple for Bianca. She's pretty much going to be a lifetime face in, upwards of 15 cities, I would say, in the South, because of just her backstory and her life story as a whole. And that's just so hard to navigate.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, Ness. I think, I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen now. And I don't think it's going to happen super soon. But fans already are starting to turn on her in every city they go to. So I think that in the next year, heel turn is going to have to be the case regardless. I don't think I think Bianca's going to be forced into a heel turn, and not too far away, if I'm being completely honest. But now let's get into the main event of the Elimination Chamber, where Sami Zayn will be challenging for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. And of course, it's the big question everyone's been talking about. Can Sami Zayn do the impossible and just defeat Roman Reigns and face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania? Now, the prediction I'm about to give is the prediction a lot of people are having right now. But I want to just say something. I said this literally just after the Royal Rumble on the podcast. You guys can go back and listen to it if you want. If I believe it was an Instagram reel at the time. Yeah, it was an Instagram reel. So you can check the Instagram reels. And everybody in the comments told me it can't happen. The Usos can't be in Canada, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I am telling you now, this is definitely what is going to happen. I'm certain on it. I believe that Jey Uso is going to screw over Sami Zayn. He's not meant to be there. Roman Reigns told the Usos not to be there, but I think he will be there regardless. I think he's going to screw over Sami. Roman Reigns is going to get the win, and then they're going to do the entire Sami storyline, then going up against Jey at WrestleMania. Well, probably him and Kevin versus the Usos at WrestleMania. And I think they could be the ones to take the titles from the Usos. But yeah, I think it's going to be Roman versus Cody at Mania. I don't see a spanner being thrown in the works. Sami is super over. I think they could do the triple threat. I think they could do the night 1, night 2 thing. But I don't think they are going to. I think it's going to be a very simple situation of Roman Reigns is going to win here, and I'm very, very confident about it. But what do you think, Clark?
I hate to be a man of few words on this one, but it's pretty simple. Roman Reigns retains. And I didn't mean to rhyme that on purpose, but I did. It's Roman Reigns retains whether Jay interferes or not. He does. Do I think that keeps Sami Zayn out of the title picture headed to Mania? Do I think it's a singles match with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at Mania? Not necessarily. I've got some other ideas, but I think tomorrow we're going to see Roman once again standing tall, 2-belt Roman, and he'll walk out Universal Undisputed WWE Universe Champion of the Universe.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Anthony?
Sorry, I botched that one.
I mean, all the years I've watched, I know this is all logic is that Roman retains. That's all logic. But quite frankly, at the same point, they have not exactly followed a predictable path during any of this. Would they be crazy enough to throw this? It would not entirely shock me, but if I'm putting money on the line, Roman's retaining. It's going to be a hell of a match. I believe you are correct, Ben. Jay's going to screw Sami. I'm sure the loophole, they'll go, well, Heyman told Jimmy that he didn't want them there, but Jay was already gone. So Jay didn't get the memo. I'm sure there's a number of ways they can do this, but I think that's where we're going. I think Usos, KO, Sami, but I do think Sami will hold the world title at some point in 2023, especially if he continues to sell all the merch that he's selling and he's over, especially if they split the belts, which is what's probably expected. I think he's going to end up being the champion on SmackDown.
And you mentioned right there about Roman Reigns, saying he didn't want the Usos there. And one criticism of this story has always been about the fact, well, do none of them watch SmackDown? And then following that criticism, Roman Reigns actually acknowledged the fact that he watched it a few weeks ago. Not a few weeks ago, it must be almost a couple months ago now. But I honestly think that the reason that was done and that was said was to throw off Sami. I think he knew Sami would be watching, and that's why that was said. I think in the background there's a plan in place that's what. And I think perhaps Roman doesn't even trust Paul. Perhaps he told Paul to tell him that, and then he's going to tell the user something else. Maybe Paul isn't even in on this because he doesn't know who he can trust anymore because of the entire Sami situation. But Kobe in the commentary is saying, why would Jay throw away Sami's acknowledgement? And the truth behind that is because Roman Reigns' family. I think it all comes back to that.
Blood is blood.
Yeah. And there is, a number of ways which they could do this. And I kind of, part of me does hope they, trick us all and something else happens. But I think this is the way it's going to go. And it probably makes sense in all honesty. But again, I said it months ago. I'll say it again. Sami should have been the one to face Reigns at Mania once The Rock was off. And yeah, they've blown the opportunity. But
I don't want to cut you off, Ben, though. But I did the other day on a car ride call Anthony on my Bluetooth, and I broke down a scenario.
Oh,
yeah,
where we get both. And I would love to present that if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
Go right ahead.
So here's the move. Anthony deserves a massive assist credit on this because his initial idea was triple threat match. First fall, Universal title. Second fall, WWE title.
Yeah.
I said, let's go one step further.
Okay.
Fatal 4-way.
Oh.
First fall, Universal title. The person who takes the fall and the person who wins the belt are then eliminated from the match. And it's a singles match for the WWE title. And from there, you book Sami Zayn to pin his very best friend, Kevin Owens, and win the Universal title. And he celebrates going up the ramp as Roman Reigns is furious. And then Kevin Owens has to leave the ring. And it's Reigns, Cody for the WWE belt, one-on-one to finish night 2. And that's the match. That's the way you get both moments. The pop for Sami's win, and then he and Kevin have to go to the back. There's that moment to breathe. You don't have to do re-entrances with a fatal 4-way and no disqualification. Reigns and Cody are both outside of the ring. It doesn't damage them. And now it's them for the WWE title, Cody's dream belt, and you'll get the pop from the crowd as Sami and Kevin exit. The realization that Cody is still in it for the WWE title. He's still got to overcome Reigns, though. Plenty of storytelling there. I know it's complicated, but it's the only way you can pull off both. I know it's not perfect, Ben, but it's the only choice for pulling off.
The big issue is, before Anthony gets into the other option, the big issue with that is I think the Sami chance will just kill Cody versus Reigns. I think the crowd would be so happy Sami's done it for that second half, and Cody doesn't get his moment. It's just completely hijacked.
So flip it.
I think that's what it's.
So flip it on its head.
But then Cody doesn't get his moment properly. I think, as bad as it is, unless you do alternate nights, which would make that should be hard to do.
Risking injury. You're risking injury. They're not going to do that.
I don't think there's a way you can get both moments. Honestly,
you would the potential injury, like they mentioned, like you guys mentioned. Plus, it kills the momentum of Roman being pinned for the first time. So instead of KO, maybe you throw Jey Uso in there. Sami pins Jey after the betrayal at Chamber. He gets his revenge. He gets a title. You could do it that way. You could do double elimination. You could, in theory, instead of double elimination, the person who got pinned, so Jey got pinned, it reverts to a triple threat. Have Sami help Cody.
Well, and so
there's any number of things you could do.
My actual thought was to have it be the opener of night 2, and Sami gets his moment in the curtain jerker, and they go to the back. I said restart the moment, but they go to the back then at the end of the night because Roman and Cody, and they're both kind of pissed. But at the end of the night, it's those two in the main.
I don't think you
split it.
I think it would have to be one match. Yeah. I think it would have to be done in one match.
I think you open with a fatal 4-way. Sami pins him to win. Everybody goes to the back. Then you bring Cody and Roman back out.
No,
and that way you can work a Cody Peck injury angle too over the course of the night, where he has to come back out maybe taped up to give it a shot against Reigns.
Isn't that the same risk though of injury if he's working 2 nights, if he's working twice in the same night?
They did it with Bryan at 30.
But I think that made kind of more sense as it was okay. The winner of this match and joins the main event, whereas this would be everyone there and then.
No, I agree.
Also, the other issue is that all these things make sense, right? And they like good ways of doing it, but to the casual fan, which of course WrestleMania, by the way, is the show with the most casual fans. It might be an explaining concept to explain.
Yes.
That's why I don't think any of these ideas.
No, it was. By the way, it was just spitballing. Like again, like this isn't like I think it's gonna happen. No, it was like, hey, if you're trying to satisfy everybody somehow,
get both. Yeah.
Right. Like if you're trying to get both, this is about the only way I could think of you could. But it's like, I'm in agreement with. I'm not trying to say they need to do that or like. No, I was just like, that's one way you could try to pull it off.
I mean, you could even see the visual because of KO and Sami's history, the hug almost reminiscent of Benoit Guerrero, and them hugging Cody because it's all tied to Dusty. Like they're all cool. Dusty people. And the visual of Sami on one corner, Cody on the other, both holding world titles. That's a hell of a visual, and it gets them the 2 champions.
That would be a good visual. Both moments would be kind of overshadowed, though, by the other one, I worry.
Yeah, but you're breaking the titles away. People are getting both things. People want Cody to win the title Dusty didn't get. They want Sami to get revenge. They want Sami to get the belt. This achieves both things.
Yeah. Well, that is true. But
the other thing too, Ben, before you go, I'm sorry on this, is let's remember how entertaining Sami and Cody in the same ring were.
That's true.
And the idea of that on the build to Mania of almost this like, we're in it for the same thing. We've got like almost this like half alliance.
Yeah.
Common enemy.
And then you can have Sami, the way that he's worked in the Bloodline, backstage segment type things, like the look, I've got your back, you've got mine for now. But we are going for the same thing here. And then it kind of works out that they both get it. That moment might be pretty dang cool.
Yeah, no, it certainly would be. But when we're talking about Elimination Chamber here, it seems like we're all in agreement that Roman Reigns is going to win tomorrow. But talking about WrestleMania, let's actually talk about the night after WrestleMania. And of course, there's been a lot of news. Well, of course, Jay White has left Japan. He might be leaving New Japan. His New Japan contract almost up, if not up by now. And there's a lot of rumors that perhaps, a lot of people speculating that perhaps he could be Raw after Mania. I think Clark said on the podcast quite a number of weeks ago now. He made that prediction. But today's some news, which a lot of people have, including me, forgot about, is that Kenny Omega's contract is also up this month. And of course, you'd have to presume that he's staying with AEW. He's, one of that trio's champions. But it's nearly the end of February. His contract's either up or nearly up. And he's not, apparently he's up. And he's not signed an extension yet. So is Kenny Omega actually doing a Cody Rhodes and leaving AEW? Could Kenny Omega and Jay White both be showing up very soon in the WWE ring? If you told me this, I'm going to be honest, if you told me this a few months ago, well, once they returned after the Punk situation, I would have called you crazy. If you told me 15 months ago, before Cody made the jump, I would have called you even crazier to say that 2 of the AEW EVPs made the jump to WWE in the same 12 months. But who knows? Stranger things have happened, and it would be some crazy storylines and crazy. It should be monumental for WWE to be able to get both of these guys. And personally, I'd be more interested in seeing Jay White, just because Jay White's also a lot younger. I think Jay White really could be a top star in the company for the next decade. Whereas Kenny Omega, perhaps only the next 5 years or so, a similar thing to what happened with AJ Styles. But still, both would be huge gets. And if I was WWE, I'd want to get them both. But what are your thoughts on it, Anthony?
I mean, Jay White, to me, other than Will Ospreay, is probably 2 of the best talents that New Japan had. That if I'm WWE, those are the 2 that I would want out of the New Japan roster. And same thing with AEW. I think those would be the 2 you want. Jay White's got a lot of upside. He's got the youth, hell of a talent, completely 180 from his original, the very first time I saw him as the young lion in Ring of Honor doing his excursion to what he is now. An unbelievable talent. I think there's a lot of people he can work with. I would find WWE getting Kenny probably unlikely unless they were getting the Bucks too. Like, I kind of feel like it's a package deal. I don't know if Kenny would leave AEW and leave the Bucks behind, but if WWE was somehow able to pull that off, you're telling me in the matter of a year, a little more, they took 2 of the founders of AEW. Like that speaks volumes if they're somehow able to get 2 of the founders going, yeah, we're out. We're going to WWE. I mean, that's, I know Soul couldn't handle that, but I'm just saying.
Absolutely not. But that's something which we know Triple H loves stuff like that. I feel like WWE would offer them would offer Kenny a big money deal. Now the Bucks are under contract for quite a few years, so they're not getting the Bucks. But
no sports fan on the planet doesn't like getting better players for their team.
Well, that's also true, but I feel like because of the way it'd be to AEW, I think Triple H would love that.
Oh, no. The FU is always good, too.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Ask Babe Ruth about that one.
And Soul saying in the comments, I can't share the actual comment as it's got some language in it, but he said, if this blank happens, I'm not going to be blank happy with Tony Khan and AEW. And I'm sorry, Kobe just corrected me, Bucks contract is up next year. Well, that's still a full year away at this point,
which is the same time of MJF.
But get your Mad Libs cards out for that quote from Allison, guys. Fill in those blanks.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's such a crazy situation that I could not have imagined this happening just even 12 months ago. It really would be absolutely crazy. And I mean, yes, Kenny and the Bucks have always been together, right? But he's kind of stagnant in AEW now, in all honesty. So it would not completely surprise me if he did want to make the jump and just wanted to change the scenery. But what are your thoughts on it all, Clark?
To be totally honest, Jay White, a perfect fit for WWE. I think it's a no-brainer. I think he's all but in. you gave me the shout out and I appreciate that. I did say it a while ago when we did the episode about like what's Jay White's future look like heading into that match with Hikuleo. I think it's still the same. I said Raw after Mania then. I still believe Raw after Mania now. The idea of Kenny Omega going to WWE, absolutely not. That's a joke. Not because he's not going, but the Raw after Mania 2 debut with Jay White, they devalue each other in that scenario. Kenny Omega wants to be. If Kenny Omega is going to WWE, he's going to go to WWE to be treated the way that Cody Rhodes has gone to WWE and been treated. That's the only way Kenny's going. And
Unchanged.
So unless he's somehow showing up to Mania to wrestle Seth Rollins like Cody did, Kenny Omega's not showing up in WWE at the same time as Jay White. Never, maybe not. Never, maybe not. I'm not saying he never shows up, but then the idea of them showing up almost as a pair, that makes no sense to me. They devalue each other.
Yeah. Here's a
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that, but I got my cat here. What I would say though is, what if Finn Balor turns on the Judgment Day after WrestleMania and out come returning AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and Jay White? It'd be the first
And
time
the
ever
Good
you had
Brothers.
all. I wouldn't include
To fight
them.
who?
I think I would include them down the line, but not yet.
Yeah,
Because I then form it because it would be the first time ever you'd have all four in any promotion,
Of
all
course.
four Bullet Club leaders in the same ring at the same time. The first time ever. And if we know that Triple H is a big fan of the Bullet Club. He wanted the Undisputed Era to be WWE's
No
Bullet
doubt.
Club. And I would be fascinated to see it.
It would be.
Do they
It would
fill
be
the
history.
void-
Go
Do they
ahead,
fill the
Anthony.
void of Bloodline? Bloodline's dispersing,
Yeah.
presumably at WrestleMania. Are they the mafia that goes after Cody or whatever for the title? Like, I kind of could see them doing that if they're able to pull that off. But let me throw one quick hypothetical before we run out of time. We know Triple H tried to make a run at the Elite before AEW became a thing. If Triple H had full control of the company, which presumably he's got now, if he had that back then, do you think that would have made a difference whether or not they would have accepted those offers?
I 100% would have. 100%. And
Yeah.
back to you, Clark. Kobe saying in the comments, is it unlikely? Like, why would Kenny have not signed already if that was the case?
I mean, negotiations take time. Anytime you're signing a major contract, it's normal. It happens. Contracts expire, and especially in the wrestling business as an independent contractor, the way that they are operating right now, it's not like he's not getting paid to show up. Right? He's working without an official contract, but he's getting paid, and so they're working out details and whatnot. I'm not necessarily saying he fully resigns to AEW the same way he did before, but the idea of if he is going to go to WWE, I just don't see it being this like flippant and quick.
Yeah, I mean, the thing you have to consider with Kenny, I do think he's probably loyal to AEW, but he had significant time off for the injuries.
Right.
He's not getting any younger. I know he said it's not a priority. If he wanted that WrestleMania moment, the clock is ticking on him. So it's a question of whether or not he wants to go there or he wants to, continue to do what he's doing in AEW. It's entirely up to him. The ball's in his court.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to make AEW Newsweek, if Kenny has left, even worse, Mike Tyson's now just come out and said that he'd rather go to WWE rather than AEW again, even if AEW paid more. So, it's really not a great news week, is it, for AEW? They've just got one of the lowest Dynamite ratings ever since the pandemic. Kenny might be leaving, and Mike Tyson's trashing them. But that pretty much brings us to the end of the show, guys. I will not be here tomorrow, neither will Anthony, but Clark will be.
I'll be here. Also, shout out my buddy Andrew Vorka was in the comments with the Let's Go,
nice.
boys. So I got to shout him out. Love you, Javi.
Shout out to him there as well. Let's go, boys.
Let's go.
But Clark will be here tomorrow, and he'll be talking to Kobe, Ignacio, and Chaos with their Elimination Chamber predictions ahead of tomorrow night's show. I'll be back on Sunday to give you my thoughts on the Elimination Chamber and more. But thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in. Please leave a like and make sure to tune in to tomorrow's show. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a great night.